So this was a list that I thought was going to be a lot more difficult to make, just because, as you guys know, I am not a fan of the Scream franchise or any of the ripoffs that followed, like the I Know What You Did Last Summers or the Urban Legends. So I was like, man, what does that leave? But surprisingly, I actually really like this list, and it came together pretty quickly. Now, that has to do with the fact that there wasn't a lot of 90s slashers, but still, I do like everything on my list a good deal. So I'm very happy to say that. And here we go. The 90s slashers, top 10 for me. Opinions, of course. But yeah, only one more to go after this. We only got the 80s, and that's that. So, all right, number 10. Now, there will be some arguments here to whether or not these are slasher films, but I don't know what else I would consider this. I guess this could be a creature feature monster movie, so to speak, but it plays out like a slasher movie, and that is Leprechaun with Jennifer Aniston. Yes. And there was a bunch of Leprechauns in the 90s. Leprechaun 4 is probably my favorite in the franchise when it comes to just pure laughs. That movie's ridiculous. I went back and revisited like all of them in a row for the channel, and was shocked when I was like, wow, I had a blast with Leprechaun in Space. I just thought it was hilarious and ridiculous. But this first one, I get the charm of this one. I really do. I think it's a cult flick for good reason. And shout out to Jennifer Aniston for actually giving props to this movie and not shunning it when it's brought up. And anytime I've seen it brought up to her in interviews, she talks about it very fondly. She's like, you know, we had a really low budget, and I'm, you know, proud of the work that we did with it. So fucking, that's awesome, man. So cool to her. Warwick Davis's Leprechaun is so damn fun. And if you have not seen Leprechaun Returns, the most recent Leprechaun, I highly recommend it. I think it's easily the best in the franchise. I think it's so much fun. It is actually at Walmart for $5 on Blu-ray, which is how I got it recently. So highly recommend the new Leprechaun. Lots of fun kills, super good, super fun jokes, all sorts of good stuff in that one. All right, moving on. We've got another very obvious title here, but this was one I think I've put a little lower because it is a questionable slasher, but this is absolutely a slasher villain, and that is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Now, the concept of this film is fantastic. Now, I do think that he probably got inspiration from Lucille Fulci's Cat in the Brain, but regardless, doesn't matter. It's still a fantastic premise for a film. I love the premise. Now, the execution of this film, especially in the third act, you can watch my review on this. I did a long time ago. I probably should do like a revisiting or something, because I was not the reviewer I am now back then. But regardless, that film just struggles in its third act. I don't like the showdown. In the end, I find it to be very anticlimactic and not very well imagined, whatever. But the concept alone, the look of Freddy, all that stuff, I just love. And so I had to put it here. There's not a ton of slashing going on in the movie, so this was one I kind of was like, it's a slasher. It is. But I don't feel like it's a slasher a lot of the time. It doesn't matter. Maybe I need to revisit it so I can get a better stance on that. Anyway, all right, moving on to number 8. We have a film starring the Clint Howard, and that is Ice Cream Man. This movie's so much fun. Almost all of these are just fun movies. A lot of fun slashers in the 90s. And Ice Cream Man, it's just one that the title alone kind of, I would hope, puts you in the right mood for this kind of movie. And this is a movie that totally embraces exactly what it is, has a ton of fun, is a ton of fun, and I always love watching it. I haven't reviewed it on the channel though, so that's going to be a Slasher Sunday very soon. I don't know if I own it, though. That's the problem. Like, I might have it on a VHS copy. Maybe that's why I've never reviewed it. I don't think I have it. I have to look through my collection. I don't know. Is there a good copy of that anywhere? I don't think anybody's done one, but we'll see. Anyways, all right, moving on to number 7. This is a franchise that absolutely needs a legit release, this whole franchise, and that is Sorority House Massacre 2. You want to talk about another ridiculously fun movie with one of the greatest characters in horror history, Orville Ketchum. You've got to see this shit. It is so funny. It's cleavage versus cleavers, and the result is deadly delta. Hot naked chicks, slashing, laughs, so good. And that's going to bring me right into my number 6, which is Sorority House Massacre 3, or as it is better known, Hard to Die. Now, this is another one that's questionable slasher, but I don't care. It's a Sorority House Massacre movie, and what a fun fucking flick. It is such an interesting and odd companion piece to Sorority House Massacre number 2, because you have the same actresses playing characters, I want to say, with the same names, but they're in a completely different scenario. It's almost like it reminds me of Stephen King and Richard Bachman's Desperation and The Regulators. If my memory serves me on those books, it's been a long time since I read them, literally over 20 years. But I remember that being how those are. It's like the same characters put into different worlds, different scenarios. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that is my memory of those. But what a fun flick. Hard to Die. But I don't think they need to release like a trilogy box set Blu-ray from like Scream Factory, Arrow, Vestron, Vinegar Syndrome, whatever. Please. That would be such a killer set. I would definitely buy that. Now, number 5 is a slasher that the first entry in this franchise is horrible. The second one is hilarious, and it is the only other one in this franchise, and that is Psycho Cop Returns. Psycho Cop 1, or Psycho Cop, is obviously trying to play off of the success of Maniac Cop, and it fails miserably. It's a fucking boring, lame-ass movie. Absolutely hate it. Psycho Cop Returns, on the other hand, which did get a really great Blu-ray recently, for good reason, is hilarious. It's ridiculous. It's so fun. And that's what I keep saying about a lot of these. So if you haven't seen Psycho Cop Returns, highly recommend it. It's a blast. All right, moving on to number 4, another super fun movie. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's just like fun one after fun one after fun one. But these are films that I just sit back, turn my brain off, and just have a total blast watching. This one is one everyone's familiar with, and that is Dr. Giggles. Now, I know that the Dr. Giggles I have was in that box set. With like, I have them all together over there. Deadly Friend, Eyes of a Stranger, The Hand, and then Carpenter's Someone's Watching Me. But I don't know. Is there a legit copy of that as well, like a Scream Factory? I can't remember. But man, I actually have the Dr. Giggles comic that a subscriber sent to me too, which is really cool. I think there was like 2 of them. There was supposed to be 4, and they only made 2, or was that the one there was 2? Regardless, he also sent me like the soundtrack and I got all sorts of Dr. Giggles stuff here at the house, but I love the movie. I think that the performances in it are great. I actually really like the characters in it. It's just, yeah, I keep sounding like a broken record on this shit, but a fun-ass movie. That's a total blast. So there you go. You know Dr. Giggles, though. I don't really need to say much about the movie. And Larry Drake, of course, as Dr. Giggles, just kills it. He's just amazing in it. All right, number 3. Here we go. Top 3. Number 3. this was a hard order here. 3, 2, 1 was difficult for me, but I feel pretty solid on this. All right, number 3 is Child's Play 2. Now park this piece of shit. Child's Play 2 is probably my favorite Child's Play movie. I don't know. The first one or the second one, it's kind of a toss-up for me, but fuck, what a fantastic film. Like, this could easily be number 1, to be honest. Like, I love this movie so much. I love Kyle, and I love the teacher scene in the classroom. There's really nothing I don't love about this movie. The ending showdown between Andy and Kyle in the good guys factory and all that, just fantastic, man. This now I'm sitting here talking about it, I'm like, shit, man, I almost feel like this should be number 1. It's such a fantastic sequel. It really is. Even though the opening makes no sense, like, why would they remake the doll, or like, who gives a shit? There you go. All right, number 2, a fantastic psychological type horror flick slasher. Mostly psychological because of how it plays out at the end. A movie that really should not have had a sequel. The way it ends, it's perfect, it's good. It's getting a spiritual sequel remake soon here this year, and that, of course, is Candyman. I mean, another fantastic film that has such a great ending because it's so ambiguous. It makes you go, did this really happen or not? And it works both ways, and I love that shit, man. Anytime you can pull that off in a movie, excellent. So, Candyman. And number 1, this is why I'm saying this was so hard, and this is not a great movie, but you have to remember that I was so into this franchise when I was growing up, and when I saw this in theaters in 1995, I just thought this was the coolest fucking movie ever. And when it got a producer's cut, and I watched that, and I've watched that many times now, I thought that was so cool because of how different it was. And of course, I'm talking about Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, or Halloween 666, The Origins of Michael Myers, or whatever damn name you want to call it, the producer's cut, the theatrical cut, whatever. As far as like which one I'd pick, and that's another thing, is this has 2 almost completely different versions, so you have like 2 movies in one, so it's almost like a cheat because I get to pick from 2 films and make it my number 1. The director's cut, or the producer's cut, as I should say, and the theatrical cut, it's a toss-up for me. Like, I like the first 2/3 of the producer's cut, and then I like the last act of the theatrical cut. So, like, mash those together. A guy I knew actually made his own cut of it, and I think Lee McCoy from Drum Dums also made his own fan edit of the movie. I would love to have seen those. The one that I had mentioned previously, the guy sent it to me, and I never got around to it because I was an asshole. He was like constantly asking me like for assistance on it, like being like, what do you think about this change, and what do you think about this one versus this one? And I was helping him out a little bit. I should have been more interactive than I was, and I should have watched this final fucking cut, but I didn't because I just got so wrapped up in everything else. But that all being said, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, I had to give it to this. I love so much about this movie. There is a lot of lame shit in this movie. It's all over the place. It's a hated film in the franchise by a lot of people. I totally get it. It jumps the shark, as they say, in a lot of ways, but nostalgia plays a factor here. I think the producer's cut tonally or atmospherically actually mirrors the original more than any other film in this franchise. So yeah, I'm picking that as number 1. As much as I love Child's Play 2 and Candyman, I'm going to have to give it to Halloween 6. So there you go. Again, Leprechaun 10, New Nightmare 9, Ice Cream Man 8, Sorority House Massacre 2, 7, Hard to Die, Sorority House Massacre 3, 6, Psycho Cop Returns 5, Dr. Giggles 4, Child's Play 2, 3, Candyman 2, Halloween 6, number 1. So there you go, guys. I'll get to the 80s slasher list. That's going to be the hardest one by far. I mean, all of the slashers that we love are from the 80s. And yeah, So number 1 is 100%. I think number 2 is pretty much 100%. Yeah. So I think I got those down, but all the rest, that's going to be tough. We'll see. But number 1's easy. So you guys know what that is, though, if you've watched the channel enough. But I won't spoil it here if you don't know what it is. And we'll talk to you whenever I get to that. It could be weeks. I don't know. We'll see. Adios.